Hello, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. I'm Kayla.
I'm Ollie. And I'm Kimberly.
And we are level 3, year 1 hopes and tours for students. So just to start, can you introduce yourself and what do you do within your job role?
Do you want to go first, Jennifer?
I could go first. So my name's Jennifer and I work at the college as a HR advisor. So part of my job role is project work. So that could include working on staff wellbeing projects. And I also do a lot of organisation around the college wellbeing champions, which includes the mental health first aiders and other things like organising staff health and wellbeing weeks. And I also help coordinate support for our staff via things like an employee assistance programme and occupational health. So I am a wellbeing champion and a mental health first aider, but that doesn't mean I'm a counsellor or a therapist. It means I give initial support and signpost people to appropriate help if it's required. Yeah, that's me.
And I'm Cheryl Jones, so I'm the Student Voice Coordinator for all 3 campuses. My work is very much based around listening to students, student opinion, what students want from their college environment in terms of making sure that students have the correct contact details they need during maybe college holidays. We do projects where my reps work on making sure we're spreading words about talking about mental health openly. And again, my role in terms of mental health, I am a mental health, not a mental health first aider. I've done a psychological first aid course, but I am a wellbeing champion as well. And a lot of what I do is about signposting people really to where they can find support.
Okay, so in terms of mental health, what does the college have on offer for students to support them with their mental health?
We have very specific departments that involve student advisors for some students, but generally our message is about everybody promoting good mental health and well-being for our students. That's why we have lots of tiers of staff. That's why you'll have your SPMs and specific tutors for specific lessons. That's why you've got student services you can come to. So overall, I think it's becoming everyday practice, if that makes sense, that it's embedded in what we do all the time rather than a specific department or place to go. I encourage students to visit the college nurse if they need to. We have core lessons, as you know. I know a lot of mental health work and wellbeing is embedded in core. I help set up clubs and just ongoing communication really through my reps to make sure that anxiety, any issues or concerns are raised and managed.
Leading on from that, do you think enough is done to help with mental health?
So, I mean, I think in the college, at the moment, we're really pleased with a lot of progress that we've made, a lot of steps that have been taken to try and reduce the stigma, encourage people to get talking about mental health and be open and honest about things. But there's always room for more learning, more development of practices and support offered. And from a HR perspective, there has been a lot of work and change in UK workplaces about reducing stigma of mental health in the workplace, and a lot of development done on supporting staff wellbeing really robustly in the workplace.
Everything can be developed all the time, and actually with so many initiatives coming forward so often, you know, different campaigns on the telly or different campaigns with Mind or Young Minds, there's so much out there now that we just try to embrace that and push it out, you know, where we can across students as well. I think we're doing what we can with the tools we have at the moment, and I think staff are becoming more and more probably comfortable with managing this. And of course there are the mental health first aiders as well, aren't there, Jennifer, which you manage, is that the right word?
Which I guess I kind of do.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in terms of the wider society, I mean, I think it's the same thing. I think more investment's been made, and if you wanted to have more information about that, you can look at NHS their 10-year strategy, which they released in 2019. That's got some information about commitments they're making towards investment in mental health services. So you might be interested to have a look at that if you fancy to read.
And how do you keep a positive mindset in general?
If I was going to say to a student, if a student came to me and said, I'm really struggling, how do I keep a positive mindset? I'd be saying things like, having regular catch-ups with your SPM to review your workload, or maybe your tutor, reducing stress levels by being organised, making lists to work through each day, especially when we're working at home. It can be quite hard to manage, can't it? So I find that I have to make a list and work through that to get through that in my day. Taking regular breaks when you're at home and at college as well, just to refresh, and sort of set yourself back again. Do you want to take it from there, Jennifer?
I think it's all about a balance again, making sure you make time for things that you enjoy, but making sure you've got the work-life balance, so things you enjoy, and then also making time for things that you need to do. And if you're struggling with anything, just making sure you're asking for help.
And family and friends, talking to family and friends as well. People forget that maybe that's your first port of call. They hopefully will listen, and if not, find another trusted adult or a friend that will listen. And as Jennifer has said, your work-life balance is so important, but remember to talk to someone that you trust if you're feeling low. That's really important. We all have days like that. It's really important to share that with someone that you trust.
Great, thank you. And if you did need help, how would you ask and what do you say? Because I think it can be quite hard to think what to say.
We looked at this from an in-college perspective, didn't we, Jennifer? So if you're talking about in college as students, then I would always recommend that you go to your SPM tutor or another member of staff you trust. If it's more personal and you don't want to bring it up at college, we do have a college nurse you can talk to. You could talk to a family member, a friend, a GP, or we can signpost you towards charities and talk spaces and places you can go for advice. Anything else there, Jennifer? Have I covered?
That's what I would say as well. There's quite a lot of external agencies you can talk to. Samaritans, Young Minds, Mind.
Cool, thank you. And moving on from Mind, if you speak to them, is it confidential? Can you trust the person you're speaking to?
So, shall I take this one?
Go.
So, if you were to ring Mind Info line and talk to someone, so they are confidential. However, they would need to share what you'd spoken to them about. This is what Mind say. So, if you ask them to get you help because you feel you can't do it yourself, then they'll have to disclose your details to someone else, of course. And they would also have to share what you tell them if they believe that someone else or you are at risk of serious harm because of what you've spoken about, especially if you are under 18.
Okay, and then leading on from getting advice from places like Mind, what would you do if the support you get doesn't help, and what other options are there?
So we discussed this, didn't we, Jennifer? Because we were thinking we hope that you would get the support you needed. If you went to someone as reputable as Mind, we hope you would get that support. But if you didn't, it comes right back to talking to your parent, carer, friend, trusted adult, college staff member, SPM, tutor, college nurse, and there's a whole abundance of other mental health support out there. As we said, Childline, Young Minds, NHS, Samaritans, Ditch the Label, Calm. There are a lot of places out there. GP, we've said as well. So I would be quite confident in thinking that Mind would be able to signpost you if you didn't think they could help. But there are a whole list of people that you can go to.
Okay. What would you not say, and how would you be supportive as possible for someone who's struggling with mental health?
Trying to not make any judgments and not belittling the issue when they're talking about it.
We talked about this, didn't we? And we said avoid phrases such as "it's just a phase, you'll get over it, other people have it worse," nothing. That's not helpful. Someone's problem at that moment is their absolute world and it's consuming them if it's that serious. So trying to dismiss it is never ever a helpful thing.
And don't make it about yourself.
Really important.
Display active listening, ask them questions about it and really listen to them rather than trying to talk about yourself because they need you to listen at that moment.
And then maybe if you were the person receiving, on the end of that conversation, maybe you might need to go to a trusted adult for support and say, I've got a friend going through this. Can you tell me some places I can signpost her or him to? And that's really important as well. Okay.
And you could approach any mental health first aiders and ask them that question at the college if you needed to.
What types of treatments are offered when someone is battling with mental health?
We did a bit of research, didn't we?
Yeah, there's an awful lot, but the main ones would be talking therapies and forms of counselling like cognitive behavioural therapy. Obviously, there's medication and other things like people would give you advice on exercise and nutrition that might support or improve your mental health. But this really would be a question that you would be best to ask someone like a GP or a mental health practitioner.
How do we support others who are struggling with their mental health?
Just be kind, because maybe that's what's going on. They might be lacking the kindness part. And remember, a mental health issue doesn't define someone. And I'm sure you've come across this, that one of the big things that I'm pushing at the moment with Student Voice is that you always ask twice. So if you say to someone, "Are you okay?" you make sure that you ask again, "Are you okay?" Because often your answer will be different the second time. And I'm sure you've done some work around that with this project. But yeah, that's a big thing as well.
How many lives are sadly lost due to bad mental health?
There is a rising suicide rate for under 25s. So the rate for females under 25 has increased by 93.8% since 2012, which is obviously a huge increase. And then in England and Wales, so we could only manage to get the information from 2019. So there were 5,691 suicides in England and Wales in 2019. And that's 321 more than the year before.
What do you think the main causes of depression are?
Well, if we categorise this, it comes into, if we look, I can't think where we went to. I think we went to Mind.
It's Mind, yeah.
Yeah, and basically they categorise it into childhood experiences, life events, other mental health problems, physical health problems, genetic inheritance, medication, recreational drugs and alcohol use, sleep, diet and exercise. And what they do within that, and that could be a whole interview on its own, I'm sure, they categorise within those headings what kind of things. So to give you an example, childhood experience could be some form of abuse or neglect, the loss of someone close to you. Let's pick another one. So sleep, diet and exercise. So a poor diet and lack of sleep can affect your mood. And I know that tutors and college staff will come across that a lot.
Definitely,
with students. That's a big problem, and it's really hard to recognise how much those decisions are affecting your everyday life as well. And I know if I've had a really good eating day, I feel quite chuffed with myself. If I've had a rubbish day, I feel quite sluggish and I feel a bit fed up. So it really does influence your mood. But yeah, there's quite a big list there of things that can influence, but gives you a little idea.
So how can they tell if someone has a mental health problem?
I mean, everyone would display things differently, and there'd be individual differences in how you might be able to tell if someone has a mental health problem. But we went to Mind again about this, and some of the points to look out for would be things like avoiding events and activities that they usually go to and enjoy, any obviously self-harm or suicidal behaviour, using more tobacco, alcohol or other drugs more than they usually would, if they have spoken about difficulty sleeping, or maybe they're sleeping too much, sleeping a lot in the day, no appetite, losing weight, gaining weight, and other symptoms can be shown in physical ways, so aches and pains and things like that.
And again, we thought here as well, if you did think you recognised that in somebody that you knew and you thought there were some changes going on, that you can go to the Mind website to get more advice on how to manage that and who to signpost to as well. Yeah, just good to know.
Yeah, so how can you speak to someone who
and help someone with mental health problems, like mental health or anxiety?
So if you were speaking to someone with mental health problems, such as anxiety, so it could be a friend at college, for example, with anxiety. It is literally about offering support by listening, being kind, signposting to professionals and charities. And as we said earlier, sometimes you just need someone to listen and be kind. You might not have the answers, and actually you shouldn't maybe try to find the answers. This is about listening and making sure that you're referring to the right people if you need support for that friend. Okay.
Yeah. So how can you encourage people to seek help?
I mean, if you're trying to encourage someone to reach out for help, you could maybe do a bit of research for them and give them a list of some charities or some helplines, give them a bit of information, send them some websites, give them some information about if they're going to college with you, give them some information about who they could talk to at college, encourage them to talk to their parent or GP, and making sure you're checking in on them regularly and just having a catch up with them, see how they are. But it's important to remember that if they won't seek help and that's really worrying you, then you should talk to a trusted adult for support on that.
Okay, so should we be afraid of bringing up our mental health problems?
We said a big capital letters no to this in bold writing. No, I think very much in the current climate, it's never been more important to talk about mental health. So this whole project that you're doing, I mean, well done to all of you, because this is so important. Part of the reason we're Wellbeing Champions is we're trying to end the stigma around mental health issues. Talking helps ease concerns, it helps put things into perspective, it helps you realise you're not alone. And honestly, more often than not, it only takes one person to say something for the next person to go, oh, I've been worried about that too, or that's been affecting me, or we really have to end the stigma. And you're working towards this, so this is really brilliant.
Yeah, it's great.
So what are the different types of things people suffer with due to mental health?
Wow, there's a huge list. There's many different conditions that are associated with mental health. If you wanted to read up on all of them, there is a big full list on the Mind website, but some examples could be anxiety, panic attacks, bipolar disorder, depression, hoarding even, loneliness, OCD, paranoia, the list goes on.
You'd need to look to definitely in more detail to understand those. It's worth a look up. It's actually, I was quite surprised actually at how long the list was. Do have a look.
Okay, and finally, what is the best way to improve my mental well-being?
So our main sentence here when we were talking, it was like, you've just got to take care of yourself. Concentrate on that work-life balance, so that college work and life balance. Make time for things that you want to do. Life shouldn't just become about the things we have to do. Catch up with your friends and family. Be kind to yourself. We're not very kind to ourselves as humans, are we? We've always got something we wish was better or different or the same as someone else. Or actually, just be kind to you. Be open and honest about how you're feeling. Never be afraid to ask for help. And as I think it's come across, just remember you're never alone. Somebody else will probably have the same feelings going on. So make sure you're talking about it.
Okay, so I think that's all the questions we've got. Thank you very much for speaking to us. Thank you for your time.
You're really welcome. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with everything.